welcome to this latest Power Hour session, LinkedIn Refresher. Delighted today to be joined by a good friend of PCD, Graham Aiken. Welcome, Graham.
Afternoon, David.
So terrific to have you on today. We ran one of these sessions last year, and to be honest, it was one of our most popular sessions of the year, just bringing our advisors, our professional advisors, the latest on LinkedIn, how they can get more out the platform, how they can drive more business, be more visible. Obviously, through the last couple of years, retaining and enhancing digital channels through which people could connect with clients and customers has been more important than ever. Are you still seeing strong demand for people wanting to upskill on LinkedIn? It's not something that's going away, is it? People needing to be front and center in front of clients.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not gone away. However, I sensed early this year a bit of a lull. I think a lot of firms are struggling with what to do with the staff. It's like, do we bring them into the office full time? Are we hybrid? And so kind of the training around LinkedIn kind of took a bit of a back step while firms decided what they wanted to do. But now it's definitely taken off again, without a doubt.
And marketing and events are a little bit more quiet. I mean, PCD has got a great calendar coming into the autumn, but maybe perhaps the traditional channels advisors relied on aren't there. So that makes LinkedIn even more front and center, doesn't it? Hence our discussion today.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. Yeah.
So there's lots changed on the platform. You're always abreast of what's happening, the little hints and hacks and tips that we're going to share today. We really want to hear, though, from the audience. We've got a great number of people registered for this live stream. You can put your questions and comments in the chat, and the team will put that up live for me and Graham to talk to. So please do let us know your comments and questions as we move through, and I will bring them to Graham at an appropriate juncture. But Graham, if you want to share your slides, then we can get into the presentation, move through, and as I said, our audience are very welcome to put questions and comments as we progress through today's session.
Yeah, absolutely. Just before I do, I'll just introduce myself. I think there's quite a lot of people I do know on today's session, but quite a few that I don't. So for anybody who doesn't know me, I've worked in the wealth management industry just about 20 years. I was a private banker at Coutts, who I'm sure you're all very familiar with. And then just over 10 years now, I've been running my own business. And so I focus specifically on LinkedIn. I don't touch TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, any of that other stuff, just LinkedIn, and specifically for wealth management professionals, private client professionals, etc. And I was looking the other day, I've trained close on 10,000 individuals now on the use of LinkedIn over the last 10 years. So there's not much that I don't know. Being a bit of a LinkedIn nerd, as you say, David, LinkedIn don't announce new features very well. Now, there's no way you can go to see the latest features. And so people are relying on people like me to be the LinkedIn nerd and discover things. But again, I only discover things through word of mouth, through other LinkedIn trainers, by people I know at LinkedIn. So nothing I'm saying today is gospel at all. And if I've missed things, if I've missed a new feature, then please tell me if I've missed it, and I'll include it on the next session that we do.
Great. And like with anything, you get what you give. So with people who want to get something out of LinkedIn, they've got to put things into practice, don't they? They've got to take some of these ideas and experiment and try
that's right.
Get it on their phone, get it in their routine, because otherwise people won't see an impact. But
yeah,
it's down to the user,
I think everybody will see today, you can't possibly use every single feature, or else you'd be on LinkedIn more than I am 24/7. It's about selecting what's best for you and your business. Some you like, some you don't like. So, right, let me share my screen in that case. And let me make sure we are good to go. Just give me a thumbs up, David, if you can see my screen. Yeah, all good. Okay, so in terms of the next sort of 45, 50 minutes or so, what are we going to cover off? One or two changes to our individual or our personal profiles, nothing massive, but I will touch on those. Where a lot of the major changes I've seen this year are all around the newsfeed. There's lots of different formats to posts. There's different ways the algorithm is working. There's different buttons that you can press to share content. So we spent quite a bit of time on how the newsfeed has changed. One or two other bits and pieces, again, being the LinkedIn nerd, I think they're really interesting. So we'll see how much time we've got to cover those other bits and pieces. But my focus today really is our individual profiles, how you can optimize those, and then changes to the newsfeed. And as David says, pop any questions into the chat box, and we'll save a little bit of time at the end as well for one or two predictions for what's coming down the road, and any additional questions as well. So hopefully, broadly speaking, that's kind of what everybody's expecting from today's session. So let's dive on in. Let's make a start. one of the changes that has been announced probably about 6 to 7 weeks ago now, something like that, back to that slide in a moment, is this one here. I've not seen this yet on many people's profiles, and that's either because they've not got it or it's because they don't know they have it. And it's this here. You can now add, it's not highlighted in red normally, that's my highlighting, but you can actually add a link there now to a specific web page that you would like to drive people to. So as you've always been able to do with LinkedIn, you can include website pages within your contact info, but now you can have an additional link there and you can name that as you wish. I've named it my website. David could have it as PCD Club. Maybe your firm has got an insights or a news page, any specific web page.
A microsite, like say for entrepreneurs or something like that, you can have a direct people through to a microsite, which is more commonly used, isn't it, for professionals today?
That's right. Or I don't know, maybe your office has got its own web page for your particular location, for example, that kind of thing. Or you could use it if you've got Twitter, you could put your own Twitter handle in there, for example. So what I will do, I'll run through the slides first, I think, David, and then I'll go on to LinkedIn and actually show people how to update these things rather than going backwards and forwards. I think that's probably easier. So yeah, a link to your own particular web page. I will show you how to add that later. What I did just forget to do is just bring everybody up to date on numbers. So hot off the press, about a couple of weeks ago now, LinkedIn announced their new membership numbers. We can see at the top there, over 850 million members in 200 countries and regions. I think when I started my business in 2012, David, I think it had about 75 million.
Wow.
So in 10 years, 75 to 850 million. And then a breakdown there by its largest markets. So I imagine today we've got quite an international audience, mainly Europe. For those of you in Switzerland, there's lots of private client professionals in Switzerland. We don't have a Swiss number. It just includes it in that DACH region. Yeah, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, over 18 million members there. So real breadth and real depth worldwide, without a doubt. So yes, let me go back to where we were. Highlighted a link on your profile. I'll show you all where that is in a few minutes' time. What I do want to spend a bit of time on today, because I think this is useful for David and everybody else, is creator mode, which some of you may have heard about, some of you may have seen on your profile. I'm not really knowing what it's about. So I just like to explain this, because it's a fairly new feature and they keep adding things to it as well. The best way I can describe creator mode would be almost like a verified Twitter account or a verified Instagram account, where essentially you can change a specific setting on your profile to announce to your LinkedIn community that you are going to be a regular creator of interesting and engaging content. So you'll be calling yourself almost like it's not an influencer. I don't want to say that. I don't like the phrase influencer, but as David would do, someone who's a center of influence in his world, he can call himself a creator of private client content. And I think you've done this on yours, David, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So again, I'll show you all how to do this in a few minutes. But basically, once you turn it on, you get a screenshot like I've got here. And you add up to 5 topics. So David might add private clients, he might add wealth management, he might add financial planning, he might add networking. So you want to add in there 5 hashtags that relate to the topics you're then going to be posting about. And those topics there are then searchable. So you can see mine, I've got the topic LinkedIn training. So if anybody now searches for LinkedIn training, because I've got that hashtag on my profile, I'm going to appear in the search results. So this is about searchability and visibility as well. And then a few things happen when you turn on creator mode. One of the first things that happens is when somebody lands on your profile, the default will be for you to follow them rather than connect to them. So that connect button will be replaced by a follow button. And one thing I like about that, David, is it stopped me getting connection requests from random odd bots that I don't want to be connected to. Because instead of connecting me, all they can do now is actually follow with me. That's the default. So I quite like that. So I've now got more followers than have got connections.
Because they can't message you then. That's a key difference, isn't it?
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And then you get these creator tools. So down at the bottom here, they keep adding these new tools. So LinkedIn Live is basically what everybody is watching now on YouTube. Is basically embedded within the LinkedIn newsfeed. So it's a live broadcast directly in the LinkedIn newsfeed. And I've seen some individuals use it well. Where I've seen it work better is for corporates. So businesses on their company page can also have LinkedIn Live, which is the ability to broadcast live events, client events, seminars, conferences can be broadcast directly into the LinkedIn newsfeed. So in principle, I do like LinkedIn Live. As we were discussing, David, earlier, is one of the big downsides to LinkedIn Live, particularly for private client professionals and wealth managers, is you can't control the audience. So basically, any LinkedIn member worldwide can go and watch your live broadcast. So it doesn't give you the ability to qualify your audience. The other problem with it is people within the chat on LinkedIn Live can start messaging, they can start promoting their products and services. And so it turns into a bit of a mess. So I think it's a good idea in principle, but I think for our audiences, David, it's not necessarily the right tool.
And also, do you have to have massive following in order to flip LinkedIn Live on and actually get a decent number of people? It might be quite demoralizing to put it on and be speaking.
You've got 5 people there. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I can't quite remember, but I think there is a magic number. You need a minimum number of connections or followers or something like that. Yeah. So that's one option, LinkedIn Live. Audio events. So LinkedIn have jumped on the Clubhouse bandwagon. So a couple of years ago, at the start of COVID, a lot of people were using Clubhouse for audio events. LinkedIn are now doing that. One of the big differences is Clubhouse events were not scheduled, were they, David? Whereas LinkedIn audio events are scheduled. And so, again, you can control your audience and who attends a little bit more. We have LinkedIn newsletters once you've turned creator mode on. So those of you who've got an email newsletter, you can basically format that now natively within LinkedIn. People then can subscribe to that newsletter directly within the LinkedIn platform. So I quite like that. I'm going to start that. I've only just got that feature, but I'm going to give that a try. I send out a monthly newsletter.
Yeah, monthly is a good frequency.
Yeah,
is it? And what might people do beyond just posting the article like plain text in newsletter? Is it designed to give it a bit more of a look as well?
The functionality isn't great. You basically got the functionality of a Word document. Right. So it's text, it's images, it's embedded links, and that's about it. But it's not bad. Some of them do look nice. But again, my view is, I send out a MailChimp newsletter monthly to about 4,000 people. It's hard for me to replicate that sort of audience number very quickly on LinkedIn. I would rather focus on a MailChimp newsletter than a LinkedIn newsletter, but it might be a compliment for some people.
Ones that I've seen that are good in the wealth management space is taking quite a niche area, like say entrepreneurs or another form of target market, and having a title to the newsletter that appeals to that audience, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. When you've got much more of a niche. Yeah. And then the fourth and final one at the bottom of that screenshot that I actually only got this morning, so I can't show it to everybody. But once again, you've turned on creator mode, you have the ability to embed a follow button. So you could embed a follow button on your website. You could have a follow button on your email signature. If you've got a bio page on your website, you could have a follow button there, and people just click on that button and then they're automatically then following your content on LinkedIn. So again, only a small thing, but I'll show you where it all is later, but I can't actually show you because I've not set it up yet. I've not had a chance to set it up yet, but that's the idea. They're launching all of these different tools to allow what LinkedIn called creators to use it much more as a marketing tool than ever before. Any questions coming in, David, on that?
Nothing as yet, but please do get your questions in for Graham. Great to have you on with us today, and do make the most of the fact that he can answer any question you have on LinkedIn. So do carry on, Graham, and I'll put a question up as they come in.
All right, and as I say, I'll show you all how to turn on creator mode in a few minutes' time.
Great.
What else have we got? Here's an interesting one. So on the mobile app, LinkedIn have launched template posts. So I've just taken 2 screenshots of my mobile phone. So those of you got the LinkedIn app on your phone, when you create a post now, you have the option here to use a template, and then you get this screen here. And so what LinkedIn have basically done here is tried to make it easy for you to create visually appealing posts. So you have some template text, you have some template fonts, you've got some template backgrounds. So again, David and I were chatting earlier, in principle, quite a good idea to make your post visually a bit more appealing. Again, for private client and wealth management professionals, maybe not great, because you probably want to stay on brand. Yeah, if you're employed by a particular firm, you're probably going to want to use your corporate branding for any posts. But if you've got personal posts, you've got these different templates now. And so you can see down at the bottom here, just to give you a flavor, you know, there's kind of dark blue, there's kind of pinky red, there's yellow, and then you can change the fonts and the styles and that kind of thing. But it is only available on the mobile app. This is not available on desktop.
Can you add a template? So if a marketing team added a template, or it's not, there's no way to add. Is that right?
No, I haven't seen that. I've not seen that on my app. No, that would be good though, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
that would be good. Yeah. But no, it's just the default ones at the moment, and there's about 10 or 15 of them, something like that. So give that a try. I don't know whether I'm a fan of that or not, but experiment with it. You probably want to stay on brand, but as I say, if you're posting, you know, non-corporate content, give those templates a try. What else have we got? Here's a good one. I like this. So for about 3 or 4 years now, companies have had the ability to create carousel posts. And for anybody who doesn't know, a carousel post is basically one post, but with different images within it. LinkedIn have just launched the ability for individuals to now do carousel posts. And what this allows you to do is basically add up to 4 combinations of either photos or videos. So you can't include PDFs and things like that, but you can have 2 photos and 2 videos within one post. And actually, I'll just show you what this looks like now, David, and we'll just go to LinkedIn on this and just show you Jake's. So here is Jake's carousel post. I won't play it, but basically what Jake has got here is 4 short, snappy videos. So you can play the first video, you can click through it to the second one, and the third one, and the fourth one. So rather than doing, you know, 4 individual video posts, he's got one post there that contains the 4 short videos. And that's what a carousel post is.
Is that available to everyone, or that's being rolled out? Or
all of these are still being rolled out. They never do it all at once. So you'll just have to see when you go to create a post on your homepage. I'll just show you on mine. So you will see the option here: photo, video, job, write article, or carousel post. So it'll just be added there when you can see it. Yeah. So I think that is really good. I do like those. I'm just thinking for you, David, you know, if you've got 4 promo videos for your dinners, you could put all 4 of those videos within one post on LinkedIn.
It's nice to have multimedia there, where, say, the third one was like an instructional thing. Because one long video doesn't engage people, does it? I guess that's partly why they use these scroll along tools, which I like the look of very much. And if
I think they're good.
Keeping your feed interesting is about variation, isn't it? It's about doing things like this, using the templates that are there, using marketing material, using different things, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
People engaged.
Mix it up a bit, absolutely. Yeah. All right, so that's carousel posts. What's this one? Oh yeah, clickable link. So clickable link banner on image posts are only available on image posts, photographs. Yeah, image posts is the ability to have a link embedded within it. So I've just taken an example of Jerry here, who works for LinkedIn. She's posted this video of her team, and she's got a link there embedded within it. Again, I'll just show everybody live what this looks like. Bear with me a moment. So here is Jerry's post. Let me just go and find it again. It disappeared. Has it gone?
Oh, quickly, Graham, we've got a question in the chat from Amy, just asking, is the carousel for video format available for corporate pages as well as individuals? Nice question, Amy. Graham, what
it's a great question, and it's that great. I don't know the answer. Carousel posts for companies. I think they are available for companies. I think they are. If anybody else knows, feel free to jump in. But to be honest, because I'm a sole trader, I don't use my company page. So I'm not bang up to speed on what
available on that toggle, wouldn't it? It would be the same thing, like you're saying. If you've got it, it'll be available, and it's still being rolled out. So maybe just keep. Let me just
have a look on mine. I will just have a look on mine. Like I say, mine's a dormant page. I don't use my company page, but let's just see. So no, I've not got it on mine. So you'll just have to see on your company page whether there is that option yet.
Keep your eyes peeled, I'd suggest, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's likely to be rolled out in future.
Yeah. So
Thank
here
you,
is
Robert, also for a question on that same topic.
Jerry's, where's it gone? Saw it a moment ago. Oh, there it is. So that's her post. Yeah, an image post. People can then click on this link here. It shows them the URL it's going to take them to, and then I would click on that URL and it would take me to that page. So again, for private client professionals, a team photograph with a link embedded there to your team's webpage, for example, would be a good idea. It's that kind of thing that you're aiming for. So it's basically an embedded link within an image or a photograph post.
Could it also maybe help with sort of analytics? If you're running a specific campaign on LinkedIn that's asking people to go away, you could have that embedded link could give you some data about where your visitors are coming from.
Yeah, I suppose you'd have to use a separate analytics platform, because one thing LinkedIn are rubbish at is analytics. So you want Google Analytics or something like that. But yeah, absolutely, yeah. Okay, let me go back to my slides. So that's that one, embedded links within image posts. Bit more sort of nerdy stuff, I suppose, now, David, in terms of the news feed. LinkedIn have recently changed the way the algorithm works. And if anybody wants to know more about the algorithm, feel free to stick it in the chat, and I can bore you to death for hours about how the algorithm works. But one of the changes they've made is this one. And it might sound a minor point, but it is quite important. If you're looking to share someone else's post now, and that's share with a small s, if you're looking to share someone else's post, the best thing to do now is repost it and not share it or reshare it. So if we think about this for a second, if I saw one of David's posts and I wanted to share it with a small s with my network, in the old days, I would click on share and it would say Graham Aiken has shared David Bell's post. What they want you to do now is click on repost here, because what it then looks like is a new original post from Graham Aiken, albeit relating to David's post. Does that make sense, David? So you're reposting it as an original item instead of sharing a piece of content that's already there. And the reason I'm mentioning this is the algorithm is giving much greater weight and much greater effect to reposts rather than shares. So again, if I just go back to my newsfeed, in practical terms, the way this works is as follows. Let me just find an original post from somebody. So David Cardwell here at Investec. I now have the option here, when I click on share, is to repost it. And that's what you want to be doing, is reposting. And that you can see actually is the default. That is now the only option there. You can't just share it. You have to repost it or share it with some comments attached. But repost now is the default and the best option in terms of the way the algorithm works. So if everybody in today's session start getting into the habit of reposting, that is going to give the algorithm much greater idea as to what is being reposted.
What about copying the link to that post and putting that in your post? I'd see, I've been doing that and seen that from previous advice, but I don't know whether that is something, whether this button just sort of supersedes that. Is that right?
Just have a look, because I've not done this for a couple of days, and like I say, they're always changing things. If I click on repost now, so it's just posted it.
Yeah.
And so it looks like that. So my connections will see that Graham Aiken reposted the post from David Cardwell. And I could have added my own comments to that as well if I wanted to.
Interesting question here from Robert Hazelton. Will reposting provide more weight than comments? So how do you see sharing and comments? What's the important element there?
We're getting really nerdy now, David.
Yeah, it's great.
I love it. I love it. So a comment is still much better. Was it Robert or Richard?
Yeah, Robert. Yeah, Robert.
A comment is still better, Robert, and everybody. A comment always carries much greater weight because it's more substantive. Yeah, you're adding something of value to the conversation. And so the algorithm will always give a comment much greater weight, actually.
So important to engage with those commenting on your post, isn't it? If someone comments, don't neglect to, even if it's a simple, supportive, you've got to try and vary it so it's not all just thumbs up or thanks. But
yeah, absolutely,
I always try and put a bit of work into making sure you're engaging with people who've taken the trouble to put something on the bottom of one of your posts.
Yeah, and the more comments on your post, the better. Obviously, that's going to give it greater weight as well, which leads me beautifully onto my next point, actually. which is, hopefully is my next point. I've forgotten the order of my slides now. Yes, it is. Lovely. You can now pin comments to posts, which again, so let's just explain this. It's got a head around what this means. What this means is if David has posted something out and somebody has commented on it that's really good value or really flattering to David, he can actually now pin that comment to the post. So again, I've just taken some screenshots here. So it's not really clear, unfortunately, but you can see there, we've got a comment on a post. Click on the three dots. You then have the ability to pin the comment, and then that person's comment is pinned as the first comment to that post.
Particularly a post that's gone really well. Sometimes the comments get buried, don't they? So that's part of the idea here, isn't it? Just to elevate prestige
that's right.
comments.
Yeah. If there's lots of comments, you can take a specific one and basically attach it to the top of the post. Yeah. So again, it's only a small thing. Does that have a massive effect on the algorithm? I don't know, but I doubt it. But it's just all of these little things they tend to just add without us knowing. I only discovered that recently.
What's your take on looping people in? Like, so say if you're writing a comment and you think someone else you know might be interested, and extending out to them, referencing them, well, obviously without really checking with them, but just on the assumption that you think they'll be interested.
Yes. So
what's your take on all that?
I like it, but I have it on good authority that if that person that you've done the @ symbol and put the name in, if that person then doesn't engage with that post, it works to the detriment of that post. So you need to tell that person, look, David, I've just tagged you in this post. Can you go and do something with it? Or else it's going to get demoted.
People definitely there's fewer of those posts where so many people are tagged like that. I think you used to see that a year or two ago, that obviously was being changed through the discipline of the algorithm, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. All right, so that's that one, pinning comments. This one, we'll keep this light. There's not a great deal to say in this, but for anybody who isn't aware, back in January this year, you now have the funny emoji. So instead of just liking your post now, you've got all these different emojis that you can use, and they added the funny one earlier this year. I have nothing else to say on that, really.
What do you see practically? People, I mean, it's good to have a range of emotions, I think, because some things you want to be supportive, but a like is not really appropriate. I mean, I start to see people, particularly like insightful, I often see curious if you've got a thought piece.
Same, really.
You do see some behaviors. It's not game changing, is it, for the platform, but it's something else, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit sort of it's a little bit too social media-ish for my liking, if I'm honest. Yeah. But you're right. Like, insightful, and curious are probably the three I see as well, actually. Yeah. Let's move on. Those of you, any marketers on today's session, I think there may be quite a few marketing professionals on today's webinar. They've launched this year Business Manager. So what LinkedIn used to call Campaign Manager, they've now rebranded and called Business Manager. And this is just a screenshot here because, again, not everybody has got it. It's still in beta mode. We can see there. But basically, those of you who are managing your corporate presence on LinkedIn, they've brought all of your corporate activities now under this one banner of Business Manager. So in Business Manager, you now have all of your advertising campaigns. You have your company pages, any linked employee pages that you've got, all of your analytics, any invoices from LinkedIn, the ability to manage your audiences. So basically all of your corporate activity now is all within this Business Manager umbrella. I don't want to go into that in detail today. If anybody's really interested, drop me a line on LinkedIn and I can talk you through some of the new features within Business Manager. There's nothing particularly new in there, I would say. It's basically just an accumulation of all of the old features within that new platform.
Do you think, from a business perspective, from LinkedIn's point of view, it's trying to actually become more dominant than the scheduling and the different tools of platforms that people have been using, like, many of them out on the market, and this, in a sense, will encroach onto that, will it, by having a more central point?
That's right. I mean, I should expect, I'm sure everybody is aware, one of the ways LinkedIn makes money is through advertising. And so I think that is part of this as well. For anybody who's used the advertising on LinkedIn, it's not the most user-friendly or intuitive. It's a little bit clunky. And I think LinkedIn's idea is, let's try and bring all of this together, make it a little bit more slick, because they make at least a third of their revenues from advertising. So that's, the monetary aspect is the big aspect, really. So yeah, if anybody wants to know more about campaigns, business manager, that kind of thing, drop me a line on LinkedIn or drop me an email. Pricing has changed massively. So I didn't know this till a few days ago. I knew they were increasing the pricing, but I didn't know by how much. And I've just included the 2 paid plans there. So LinkedIn Premium used to be $39. The new price is now $54. And Sales Navigator, ouch, used to be $79.99, has now gone to $104.99, £105. And like I say, this has only changed recently. So that's those prices there are if you pay monthly. It's discounted a little bit if you take out an annual plan. But I have to say, David, in 10 years of running workshops, how many workshops have I run for Sales Navigator? Maybe 10. You know, for most private client professionals, the free features are still more than sufficient. Sales Navigator is brilliant. It is a brilliant tool, but our individual wealth manager is going to fork out £105 a month for it. Now, some would argue, well, I only need 1 new client and it's paid for. There is that argument. But again, it's massively different to the free version. It takes quite a lot of getting used to Sales Navigator because it's a completely different platform. And, you know, £1,200 a year. I don't know. Any thoughts from anybody or you, David, on that pricing?
I think you'd have to have a strategy to prospect using Sales Navigator that pays off. So like,
yeah,
to have it. I mean, the things that I like about the enhanced versions is just better search functionality and creating very specific lists.
Yeah.
So if you were looking to work with private equity professionals in whatever location, the fact that you could create lists and then it alerts you to new people who come onto the feed in that field.
It's much more granular. Absolutely, yeah.
But you have to embed it in your prospecting strategy in order for it to make sense on that. That's not to say people might do it, but I think, as you say, other sectors are far more likely, and people can get a lot of value out of LinkedIn simply by being that content creator, being visible and using it in the normal way.
That's right. I mean, the other thing I would say is don't tell LinkedIn to say this. Mind you, this is on YouTube, so they might find out. But you can always take out a 30-day free trial and cancel it on day 29. There is always that option.
Yeah, give it a go. Give it a whirl. See if it works.
Yeah. As David says, Sales Navigator, it's a brilliant tool, particularly if you've got niche markets that you're looking to focus on, you know, because you can drill down by postcode. You can even drill down by radius to that postcode, you know, seniority level, number of years experience, the size of the business. So in terms of the granular nature of the search, it is brilliant if you've got a niche market. But as I say, £105 a month, you need to make it work for yourself, definitely. So that's update to pricing on the way. So definitely not available yet, unless anybody can tell me otherwise, is Discover mode. So again, at this stage, it will only be available on the mobile app. The screenshot is not fantastic, but you can see down at the bottom here. So second tab in, we have this Discover mode. And basically the idea behind this is just to make your newsfeed much more bespoke to you, because you can, within Discover mode, you'll be able to add in some hashtags of subjects that you're interested in. And then you will get videos, newsletters, events, news stories. So from people outside of people you're connected to. So outside of your first line network, if David was following a hashtag around private clients, he's going to start seeing videos, newsletters, events, news stories about private clients, but from outside of his network. So like I say, just trying to make your newsfeed a lot more bespoke with that Discover tab. So, you know, check out your mobile app. I'd love to know if you've got that Discover tab yet, because I don't think it's been launched yet, but I think that's probably quite a good idea.
But on your regular news feed, you would still just see your connection. You'd still see what you're getting at the moment. And I guess anyone you didn't want to see more of, you can always turn off, can't you?
Yeah, I mean, unfollow, mute,
about
block. Yeah,
people who produce content that they're not interested in. Well, just, you know, just tailor what you want to see, isn't it? It's very easy to unfollow people. Or
it is, yeah, because I think one of the downsides I find dealing with wealth managers and private client professionals is a lot of other professionals want to target that audience, and so they will very often create LinkedIn posts and they'll put hashtags in there like wealth managers, wealth management, private clients. You know, it might be posts unrelated to those hashtags, but they'll just hashtag them in the hope that a private client professional sees it. And if you go down this Discover route, you're potentially going to see a lot of dross in there that you might not be interested in. So you're right, David. You know, you can still mute, unfollow, block, etc. Yeah. And then the other one, which I've saved to last, and I've saved it to last to try and finish on a bit of a highlight or a high point. Scheduling. Native scheduling directly on LinkedIn. Again, it's not available yet. They're still experimenting with it, but this chap here has just pointed us all in the direction of a new button that somebody has spotted down here, which is this native scheduling option, which, as you would expect, will give you the option to schedule your posts at Monday at 2 p.m, Tuesday at 4 p.m. So potentially a massive time saver, and it removes the ability to use third-party tools like Hootsuite for scheduling. You'll be able to do it directly within your post on LinkedIn, as per this screenshot here. Can't wait for that. I have to say, David, I think that is fantastic. I've been asking LinkedIn for about 5 years for native scheduling. So if that screenshot is true, I'm very excited.
Particularly for marketing teams, isn't it? Because otherwise they're looking at consistent content. They've created and approved posts with colleagues to be able to schedule. Obviously, there are plenty of scheduling tools out there, but often you're not able to actually tag people, which is an integral part of the overall scheduling system. So this is important for those, isn't it, who are running busy feeds where they want to get their work done and pushed out on a consistent basis.
Yeah, that's right. So, whether it'll come or not, who knows? We shall see. I don't think, again, anybody has got that yet. But I think that is good progress for LinkedIn, without a doubt. So that was everything I wanted to cover on the slide deck. I thought it'd just be useful, David, actually, just to get over to LinkedIn and just show today's attendees some of these features and how they actually operate. So let me go back to my profile. Let me just start at the start. One of the first things I mentioned is this embedded link down here. So if I click on that there now, it takes people to my website. So those of you who are looking to add, sorry, gone to the wrong page, this one here. It's not your contact info. Yeah, counterintuitively, don't click on your contact info. It's actually via the grey pencil up here. So when I click on that, I get this pop up here, and if I scroll right down to the bottom under website, add a link that will appear at the top of your profile. So you add in your link and then the text, which you can customize up to 30 characters. So that's that. And that is that link that appears there. So that's quite useful. There's no direct analytics behind that, but I guess using something like Google Analytics, you might be able to do that, David, perhaps. All right, creator mode. Let's talk a little bit about those of you today who are interested in becoming creators on LinkedIn. That is down here. So under the resources tab on your profile, we have creator mode. And as you'd expect, mine is turned on, but I'll just click on that. And so, as I say, you want to add in your 5 hashtags. Topics you select will be displayed on your profile to show potential followers what you post about most. Add in your 5 hashtags, which will then be added here. So talks about, and then those 5 hashtags. And then once you've got creator mode turned on, you'll then have access to these 4 features that we spoke about earlier. So LinkedIn Live, live broadcasts with a newsfeed, audio events, newsletters, and then this follow button, which, as I say, this was only added to my profile this morning, so I'm not set it up yet. But if I click on that, you'll get the idea. You have this ability then to add this follow on LinkedIn button to your website, to your email signature, just by taking these codes here. So think about, I would suggest to everybody, think about where is your name online? Like I say, your email signature, your newsletter, your bio page on your website. You can get your IT people to take these links, and then you could have a follow button against all of your online presences. All right, so that's creator mode. I'm sure there was something else I wanted to say on creator mode, but it's completely gone out of my head.
A question coming, Graham, just asking about polls. So just saying, how are you seeing polls being used? Do you think they're a useful tool for professionals?
2 years ago, so probably a little bit longer, actually, it was just before COVID, they announced or launched polls. and everybody's using them. I know one guy who was asking people about the favorite takeaway, Chinese, Indian, Thai. It's like, oh, that's not really what LinkedIn is for. So everybody jumped on the polls bandwagon and we're doing them. I don't see many now, if I'm honest, David.
No.
What about you? I don't see many at all.
I've used them a little bit because I've realized that actually on the analytics, a post with a poll in it gets greater traction than anything else. I think the trick is thinking about a question that people want to answer and gives you something useful out of it. So tried it in a number of different ways. For example, when we had an event coming up in Guernsey, we were asking local contacts what their top restaurant was in Guernsey to take business contacts out. So what we're trying to do is that we were trying to get eyeballs from Guernsey on our event and do that through a poll, which was a kind, and actually we got some very good engagement. More sort of serious questions sometimes don't get the traction because people don't want to answer on it. So it's having a clear purpose as to why you're asking. But when you ask it, you get the data back, don't you? So
and I think that is the point for me. I know a wealth manager who uses polls, and he will ask about, what's going on in the markets, people's opinion on what's going on, that kind of thing. And he has said to me, he said, everybody who votes on that poll, he follows up with afterwards. And I think that for me is the key to it. A poll's great, but what's it doing for you? If you can follow up with everybody, that's a brilliant engagement tool, I think.
So you could ask a question like, are you planning to sell your business in the next 12 to 18 months? Yes, no. And and maybe couch it in a 65% of business owners in the Sunday Times, 65% of business owners said they were going to do X. And ask a poll question underneath that.
That's right.
And see what works, see what topics people are willing to engage on. But I think it's worth trying, isn't it?
Oh, definitely, 100%. Again, as we said a few times, it's just about variation or variety, isn't it, in terms of the types of posts you use?
There's another question just come in from Charlotte, just asking about they're looking at doing an event for intermediaries and are thinking about using a LinkedIn event to sort of augment their usual distribution channels.
Okay.
What do you see people using LinkedIn event where they're trying to, capture new contacts that might be relevant for their audience? What's your advice around using LinkedIn event pages?
I love them. I think for private clients and wealth managers, I think LinkedIn events for companies, if that's what Charlotte's angle is, I think is definitely a really, really good idea. Absolutely. Because, you can control the audience, you can send out invites to people, but also you can control who attends and who doesn't. So if somebody clicks on the attend button and you think they're just not relevant, you can kind of politely say, no, sorry, you can't attend. So the ability to control your audience for me is one of the key things. They also look pretty professional. I'm assuming everybody today has seen this event listing, David, and it looks really professional actually. I think they're a really good idea.
Show people on screen where they would click to create if they were going to start to create and go through, just show them where they'd find that so that they can.
So on a personal level, down the left-hand side here, you can create an event here. And it just takes you through the boxes as you'd expect, type of event. And it's the same button on company pages as well. You can create an event on company pages in exactly the same way. And as David's done today, you can embed a YouTube link. You could do it as a Zoom link, as a Teams meeting, that kind of thing. So you don't have to use LinkedIn Live. You can use a third-party platform to actually host it.
Okay, great. We're just coming into the last 10 minutes of the session. Graham's going to share some thoughts as well on just looking into getting the crystal ball out in a minute, Graham. But we'll just, if there are any questions, now is a great time to ask. If there's anything from what we've run through today that you'd like a bit more.
Or anything at all. There are no stupid questions.
No stupid questions. But while we're waiting for those, Graham, to come through, why don't you, if you do have a slide to share around predictions or what your predictions are for the future, that would be great to start hearing.
No, I don't have a slide, but I suppose these are less around predictions and more around would like to come, I suppose. One is that native scheduling. I was saying, I've been banging on for LinkedIn for years about that native scheduling. I don't think I've got it yet. Let me just check. Start a post. No, I've no scheduling button here yet, so I've not got it as yet, but native scheduling. The other one I would really like, maybe this is me being a bit grumpy, David, so I'll be interested in your view. I would love it to be mandatory when you send a connection request to somebody that you have to put a personalized message. I would love that. I still get so many people I don't know sending me a connection request and they haven't told me why they want to connect. If that was mandatory, I think that would be much better.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and with some people, they have a setting whereby you have to know their email address, isn't it? I think
there is that.
That's something people put on themselves, or
it is. It's a setting. It will be a setting at your end. Your setting to say, I only want people to send me a connection request. You've already got my email address. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's one way to control it. But I don't really want to limit people being able to send me connection requests. I just like to know why those people do want to connect with me. Because I'm more a fan, kind of polar opposites, you and I, David. I'm more a fan of quality, having a quality network, whereas David is much more of a quantity person. I would rather have 400 or 500 connections that I know than 10,000 that I don't know. And so I'd rather have connection requests incoming of people that I can do business with. And I just tend to still get lots of random connection requests from people that I definitely can't do business with.
Okay, sure. And why don't you tell us a little bit more about the training courses that also you've been recording? You've been doing a lot of training virtually over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Tell
100%.
us more about some of the popular topics you have there, to sort of ground you cover in the online sessions.
I think my training the last 2 years has definitely transformed, is probably the best phrase, actually, from firms and individuals wanting LinkedIn training to what I would call employee advocacy training. I think that is the way I can tend to pitch my workshops now to firms, as employee advocacy, because firms more than ever before know they've got to have frequent, high quality content. And most firms do now. Most firms have got the content. And so the ability to get their employees sharing that content and acting as advocates or ambassadors for the brand is something I'm seeing more than ever before. And so I tend to promote my workshops now, not as LinkedIn workshops, but as employee advocacy workshops. Because generally speaking, employees have got much more powerful networks than the company has. The company might have 5,000 followers, but its employees might have 100,000 connections. And so employees sharing content is much more powerful. And so I'm spending a lot more time in my workshops now, showing people how to use the newsfeed in the most effective way. What to post, when to post, how to post, a lot more detail around how the algorithm actually works, so that employees can become, as I say, ambassadors and advocates for the brand, rather than just having a nice profile.
And being coordinated, and the best companies I see on LinkedIn, where colleagues really supportive of each other, likes and shares and comments.
Yeah,
that's what gets traction, isn't it? If everyone's looking out there on the platform to support each other, you get some momentum going. If all colleagues kind of ignore each other's colleagues' posts and comments, outsiders are much slower to be supportive, aren't they?
Yeah, and that's interesting, that, because almost every workshop I run, somebody asks the question, should I be connected to my colleagues? And I'm a bit mixed on that, because if you're looking to use LinkedIn to generate new business, you probably don't want to be connected to your colleagues, because what's the point? But actually, on your point around employee advocacy, sharing each other's content, it does make sense to be connected to colleagues. So I guess it's about striking a balance. If you've got 500 connections and 400 of them are your colleagues, then LinkedIn's not going to work as a prospecting tool. I suppose that's the point, really. It's about striking the balance between colleagues and clients and prospects in your network.
And all the people watching this will be able to get a link to your training materials and things like that we'll send round. So there's plenty for people to
absolutely, with a discount.
Brilliant.
We'll arrange a code, so anybody who's attended today's session is interested in my sessions, then I'm happy to offer a discount. Absolutely.
Brilliant. Right, well, we're coming towards the end of the session. Graham, thank you so much for
pleasure.
Today.
Hopefully that wasn't too nerdy for people.
No, I think there was some great stuff in there. Do follow and connect with Graham after the session to ask some questions. We'll send around the training link to the training materials, which I recommend you explore further. Thanks for jumping on, Graham, for the update. Always
pleasure.
Fascinating.
Yeah, and good to see you again.
Look forward to seeing you again